Hello world, I'm Vladimir de Lasario, a passionate computer engineering technology student from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines Institute of Technology. As we gear up for our finals week, I'm thrilled to bring everything I've learned together in this activity. In this session, we'll take a deep dive into the fascinating world of CPUs, how they work, their incredible evolution, together with its partner, the GPU, and the inner mechanics of SAP1 operations and programming. Join me as we break down these complex concepts and uncover the intricate details that power modern computing. Now, what is a CPU? First, let's define the CPU. The CPU is the brain of your computer. It handles all the instructions from programs, processes data, and carries out the operations that make things happen on your device. It's the most critical part of your computer, controlling everything from calculations to program execution. Now let's take a closer look at the essential components that make a CPU work. The control unit or CU is like the CPU's manager. It controls the flow of data inside the CPU. It fetches the instructions from memory, decodes them, and tells other parts of the CPU what to do next. Essentially, it directs the traffic of data in operations. Next, we have the arithmetic logic unit or ALU. This is where the action happens. The ALU performs all the mathematical calculations, additions, subtractions, and even logical operations like AND, OR, and NOT. Without the ALU, a CPU wouldn't able to process the basic operations required for anything from simple calculations to complex algorithms. Then, there are registers. These are small, fast storage locations within the CPU. Registers store data temporarily and provide quick access to information while the CPU processes instructions. Some registers, like a program counter, keep track of the current instruction being executed, while others store results of calculations or intermediate data. To speed up the access to the data, the CPU uses cache memory. Think of it as a temporary storage space close to the CPU that holds frequently used data. The larger cache, the faster CPU can access data without having to go to slower RAM. You'll typically see L1, L2, and L3 caches, each offering different speeds and capacities. Now let's understand the core process that allows the CPU to run programs. This process is called the fetch, decode, execute cycle, or simply the instruction cycle. It's how the CPU runs a program step by step. Step 1 is fetching the instructions. The program counter holds the memory address of the next instruction to be executed. The CPU fetches the instruction from memory, storing it in the instruction register for further processing. Step 2 is decoding the instruction. The control unit decodes the instruction to figure out what action the CPU needs to perform. For example, is it a mathematical operation, or maybe a jump to another part of the program? The instruction gets broken down into its opcode and operand. The opcode defines the operation, and the operand tells the CPU what data or address it needs. Step 3 is execution. Depending on the decoded instruction, the CPU executes the operation. If it's a mathematical calculation, the ALU takes over. If it's a data move, the control unit directs the registers or memory. Once done, the result is either stored in a register or written back to memory. In some cases, the results of an operation needs to be written back to the memory or register. This is called the write back phase, and it ensures that the processed data is available for future instructions. Several factors influence how well a CPU performs. Let's break it down. First is clock speed. Measured in gigahertz, clock speed determines how many instructions the CPU can process per second. A higher clock speed typically means faster performance, but it's not the only factor. Other components play a role too. Modern CPUs come with multiple cores. A multiple core processor can perform several tasks simultaneously, improving efficiency. For example, a quad-core CPU can execute 4 different instructions at once, which is specially used for multitasking in other complex programs like video editing or software games. The size of the CPU's cache memory also affects its performance. Larger caches reduce the need to access lower RAM. providing faster data retrieval and improving overall performance. Finally, we have the instruction set architecture or ISA. This defines the CPU's instruction set and the way it handles data. There are two primary types, CISE, complex instruction set computing, and RISE, reduced instruction set computing. RISC CPUs are generally faster at executing instructions because they require fewer cycles to process, whereas CISC CPUs can handle more complex instructions but may take longer to execute them. As technology evolves, so do CPUs. Let's look at a few recent innovations. With hyperthreading or simultaneous multithreading, or SMT, a single CPU core can simulate multiple visual cores. This means the CPU can handle more threads at once, improving performance for multi-threaded tasks. Some CPUs now come with a built-in AI acceleration. These specialized cores help process machine learning tasks faster, making applications like voice recognition and real-time image processing more efficient. From its fundamental components to groundbreaking innovations, the CPU stands as a true engineering marvel. It processes billions of operations every second, driving the software that powers our daily lives. Understanding how the CPU works not only deepens our appreciation for technology, but also connects us to the very core of modern computing. Now imagine a world without personal computers, smartphones, or even cloud computing. Hard to fathom, right? All of these revolutionary advancements wouldn't exist without the CPU's evolution. In the next section, we'll embark on an exciting journey to the history of CPUs and explore how this powerful component has shaped the digital world as we know it. From its humble beginnings in the 1970s to the advanced processors we use today, the CPU has undergone a remarkable transformation. In this video, we're going to take a historical journey to the evolution of CPUs and explore how they've shaped the world of computing. Our story begins in the early 1970s, when computers were far from the personal devices we rely on today. They were large, expensive, and typically reserved for government and research institutions. But without the invention of the microprocessor, everything began to change. In 1971, Intel, a CPU manufacturing company, introduced the Intel 4004, the first commercially available microprocessor. With just 2,300 transistors and a clock speed of 740 kHz, this 4-bit processor may seem tiny by today's standards, but it was revolutionary. It enabled the development of compact computing systems and paved the way for personal computing. Fast forward to 1978, Intel released the 8086 processor. This 16-bit chip introduced the by-86 architecture, which would go on to dominate the personal computing industry for decades. The 8086 architecture formed the foundation for modern PC processors, supporting the rise of personal computers in the early 1980s. During this time, Motorola introduced its own 32-bit processor, the Motorola 68000, which would find its place in iconic personal computers like the Apple Macintosh and the Commodore Amiga. Its 16-bit data bus and powerful architecture made it one of the most influential processors of the era, especially in multimedia and graphic design applications. As the 1980s unfolded, personal computing needed more power. The rise of the 32-bit processor architecture provided the next leap forward in performance. In 1985, Intel introduced the 80386, the first fully 32-bit x86 processor. The 80386 was a game changer, introducing visual memory and protected mode, enabling more advanced multitasking and running complex software, laying the groundwork for modern operating systems like Windows. At the same time, Motorola's 68020 processor continued to push boundaries in high-performance workstations and servers. It features integrated memory management, which provided better multitasking and support for larger, more complex programs. In the 1980s, also saw the rise of RISC processors, including ARM, SPRC, and MIPS. These processors use a simpler set of instructions, allowing for greater speed and efficiency, while initially used in high-performance computing and embedded systems. ARM's power efficiency would later become a key factor in its dominance in mobile devices. By the 1990s, computing demands were soaring. Users were starting to push the limits of 32-bit processors, and the industry had to innovate once again. In 1993, Intel's Pentium processor changed the game with its superscalar architecture. This has allowed multiple instructions to be processed per clock cycle, boosting performance, enabling more complex applications such as video games, simulations, and multimedia processing. 2003 marked a turning point with AMD's release of the Athlon 64, the first consumer-oriented 64-bit by 86 processor. The Athlon 64 unlocked access to larger memory spaces and brought dramatic improvements in computing power, particularly for high-end computing tasks like 3D rendering and scientific simulations. By 2006, multi-core processors were becoming a mainstream solution to computing bottlenecks. Intel's Core Duo introduced dual-core architecture to the consumer market, enabling simultaneous execution of multiple tasks, which dramatically improved performance for everything from video editing to gaming. The 2010s ushered a new era of computing, with processors becoming faster, more efficient, and more specialized. Intel's Core i7 and i9 and AMD's Ryzen processors took multi-core computing to the next level. These chips featured hyper-threading, faster clock speeds, and more cores, allowing for seamless multitasking, high-performance gaming, and even real-time data analysis. In 2020, Apple made a monumental shift by transitioning to its own ARM-based processors. With the M1 chip, the M1 combined high-performance and energy-efficient cores, making it a breakthrough for personal computing. The M1's integrated architecture allows for faster processing with exceptional power efficiency, a feature crucial for today's mobile and portable computing needs. Meanwhile, ARM continued to dominate mobile devices, with processors like Qualcomm Snapdragon powering everything from smartphones to tablets. Their power efficiency has also seen them make inroads into server environments where energy savings are critical. The evolution of CPUs is far from over. As we look to the future, new advancements promise to push the boundaries of what's possible. Quantum computing is one such frontier. Although still in its early stages, quantum processors leverage the principles of quantum mechanics to perform calculations at speeds that would be unthinkable with classical CPUs. This will lead to breakthrough in cryptography, complex simulations, and artificial intelligence. Neuromorphic computing inspired by the human brain is another promising field. These processors aim to mimic neural networks, providing more efficient AI processing and enabling machines to learn and adapt faster than ever before. Miniaturization continues, with transistors now reaching the nanometer scale. Researchers are exploring new materials like graphene and even photonic sensors, which could lead to even faster and more energy efficient chips. From the early 4-bit processors of the 1970s to the AI-optimized multi-core chips of today, the evolution of CPUs has been driven by a single goal: to make computing faster, more efficient, and more powerful. As we continue to push the boundaries of what's possible, the future of computing promises to be transformative, with technologies like quantum and neuromorphic computing poised to redefine the limits of processing power. But when you think about it, does a CPU have a partner in modern computers? Have you ever wondered how your computer generates stunning visuals, powers our favorite games, or even accelerates artificial intelligence? The answer lies in the word GPU, or Graphics Processing Unit, an unsung hero behind much of the computing power we rely on today. Let's explore it. A GPU is a specialized hardware component designed to accelerate image, video, and animation rendering. But over the years, its role has expanded far beyond graphics, playing a crucial part in everything from machine learning to video editing. At its core, the GPU has three main functions: rendering graphics, performing parallel computations, and supporting video decoding. It brings high-quality visuals to your screen, processes vast amounts of data simultaneously, and ensures smooth video playback. Inside the GPU, there are several components that help it achieve its power. First, the CUDA cores. These small processors handle the parallel ties, making GPUs ideal for big computations. Then there's VRAM, or video RAM, which stores all the graphical data, ensuring fast access. You'll find shading units responsible for rendering light and shadow effects. And for AI tasks, modern GPUs are equipped with Tensor cores to accelerate machine learning workloads. GPUs come in different types. Integrated GPUs are built into your CPU and share memory, making them ideal for everyday tasks. Dedicated GPUs are standalone cards with their own memory, offering superior performance for gaming and professional applications. And for those who need massive computing power without the hardware, cloud GPUs provide scalable, on-demand access to GPU resources. GPUs have a wide range of applications. In gaming, they deliver realistic graphics. For AI and machine learning, they speed up model training. In research, GPUs enable complex simulations. Video editors use them to accelerate rendering, and in cryptocurrency, they solve cryptographic puzzles for mining. But what makes GPUs so powerful? First, they excel at parallelism, handling many tasks simultaneously. Second, their speed allows them to outspace CPUs in specific tasks. Finally, they're energy efficient, providing more power per watt than tackling large computations. Of course, GPUs come with their challenges. They can be expensive, especially for high-end models. They also consume a lot of power and generate heat, requiring effective cooling systems. And not all software can take full advantage of their parallel processing power. Some of the leading manufacturers of GPUs are NVIDIA, known for its CUDA platform and deep learning acceleration. AMD, recognized for its Radeon series, and Intel, which has recently entered the market with its own Intel Arc GPUs. The GPU has evolved far beyond its gaming roots. Today, it plays a pivotal role in fields like artificial intelligence, scientific research, and beyond, powering the future of computing. As technology continues to advance, GPUs will remain at the forefront, shaping the digital landscape in ways we can only begin to imagine. To deepen our understanding of how computing has progressed, let's take a fascinating journey back to the days of the SUP1, or simple as possible, computer. In the next segment, we'll dive deep into the inner workings of SUP1 architecture, breaking down its core operations and explaining how each step functions. By the end, you'll gain a clearer and more comprehensive view of how the SUP1 processor executes instructions, providing a unique perspective on the evolution of computing. Let's start by understanding what SUP1 is. SUP1, or the simplest possible one, is a basic microprocessor designed to demonstrate the inner workings of a computer system. It consists of simple operations that manipulate data, perform arithmetic operations, and control program execution. The central part of SUP1 consists of registers such as the accumulator, the B register, and memory locations that store both instructions and data. Operation SUP1 executes sequentially using machine instructions, and each operation involves a specific set of tasks. Now let's dive deep into the individual operations that SUP1 can perform. The first operation we will look at is the LDA, or Load Accumulator instruction. This operation loads the contents of a specified memory location into the accumulator. Here's how it works. First is control signals are involved. LI, or load instruction. The signal loads the correct instruction into the instruction register. MAR, or Memory Address Register, holds the memory address to be read. LA, or Load Accumulator, the data from the memory location is loaded into the accumulator. For example, if you had the instruction LDA1, the processor will fetch the instruction at memory location 1, load that value into the accumulator, and make it ready for future operations. The next operation is add, or add to accumulator. The instruction adds the contents of a specified memory location to the current value in the accumulator. Here are the control signals involved. First is MAR, specifies the memory address where the operand or data is located. LB, or Load B register, loads the value from the specified memory location into the B register. EU, or Enable ALU, enables the ALU to perform the addition operation. Let's look at this example. If we had the instruction add to, the value in the memory location 2 is fetched, added to accumulator's current value, and the result is stored back into the accumulator. This operation is crucial for performing arithmetic tasks within a program, such as summing values or performing calculations. Next up is the STA, or Store Accumulator operation. This instruction stores the current value in the accumulator into a specified memory location. The control signals involved are first, MAR, holds the memory address where the accumulator's contents will be stored, and MI, memory in, writes the value from the accumulator into memory at the address specified by the MAR. For example, if we had STA3, the value in the accumulator will be written into memory location 3. This instruction allows us to save the results or intermediate data into memory so that they can be accessed later in the program. Finally, we have the HLT, or halt instruction. This instruction stops the execution of the program, effectively halting the processor. The control signals involved are HLT, or halt. The signal stops the clock pulses, which is control the sequential execution of instructions. Once the HLT instruction is encountered, the SAP1 stops fetching instructions, and no further operations are performed. This is how a program is safely terminated. To conclude, let's recap the core operations we discovered in SAP1. First, the LDA, or Load Accumulator. It loads data from memory into the accumulator. Second, Add, or Add the accumulator. It adds data from memory to the accumulator. Third, STA, or Store Accumulator. It stores the accumulator's data into memory. And fourth, HLT, or halt. It stops the program execution. These are the fundamental operations that enable the SAP1 to carry out various tasks. By understanding these operations, we will have a solid foundation for how instructions are executed in a basic microprocessor. Next, we'll explore SAP1 programming and look how to write programs using its instruction set. We learn how to manipulate data, perform calculations, and store results translated in SACPOL, breaking down each step for a clear understanding of how SAP1 programming works. In SAP1 programming, we write a sequence of instructions that the SAP1 processor can execute. These instructions consist of operations that manipulate data in memory, perform arithmetic tasks, and control the flow of programs. SAP1 programs are written in a series of machine-level instructions, and these instructions executed sequentially by the processor. By understanding the core operations, we can construct programs that perform a wide range of tasks. Let's write a simple program that adds two numbers. We'll add the numbers 5 and 10, which are stored in memory locations 1 and 2. We'll then store the result 15 in memory location 3. Here's the step-by-step breakdown of the program. First is LDA1. Load the value from memory location 1, which is 5, into the accumulator. Second, add 2. Add the value from memory location 2, which is 10, to the accumulator. Third is STA3. Store the result of the addition, or 15, into the memory location 3. And finally, HLT, or halt the program. Let's see how the program looks in the memory map. We now have a sequence of instructions in memory that will add two numbers and store the result. From that, let's break down how the program is executed step by step. LDA1, the PC fetches the LDA1 instruction. The MAR is set to 1, and the value stored at memory location 1 or 5 is loaded in the accumulator. Add 2, the PC fetches the add 2 instruction. The MAR is set to 2 and the value at the memory location 2, which is 10, is loaded into B register. The ALU performs the addition, 5 plus 10 equals 15, and stores the result in the accumulator. Third, STA3, the PC fetches the STA3 instruction. The MAR is set to 3, and the accumulator's value, which is 15, is written to memory location 3. Fourth, HLT. The PC fetches the HLT instruction. The program halts execution. At this point, the program has added the two numbers and stored the result, which is memory location 3, now holds the value 15. Now let's write the program that subtracts two numbers. We'll subtract 5 from 15 with the numbers stored at memory locations 1 and 2, which is done with first, LDA1, load 15 from memory location 1 into the accumulator. Sub 2, subtract the value at memory location 2, which is 5, from the accumulator. Store the result 10 in memory location 3, and finally, halt the program. In this part of the video, we'll explore how to write simple SAP1 programs using operations like LDA, add, STA, and HLT. We demonstrated the program that adds two numbers and a program that subtracts two numbers. The key to writing SAP1 programs is understanding how each instruction works and how they interact with the process registers and memory. By combining these operations, we can create more complex programs that perform a variety of tasks. We just wrapped up an exciting journey to the world of computing, from diving deep into the core workings of the CPU to exploring the evolution of processors and the power of GPUs. We've uncovered how these technologies shape the world we live in. By delving into SAP1 programming, we've gained insights into the foundation of computer systems, and we've seen how advancements like multi-core CPUs, GPUs, and even future technologies like quantum and neuromorphic computing are pushing the boundaries of what's possible. This exploration not only gives a clear understanding of how these systems operate, but also lights the way toward the next big technological breakthroughs. Whether you're just beginning your tech journey or are already deep into the field, I hope this video sparked your curiosity and giving a deeper appreciation for the systems that power our digital world. Once again, I'm Vladimir Rosario, and for last time, thank you for watching and goodbye world.